Is anyone counting?
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Goffstown Planning Board. We usually start our meeting with introductions of folks that are all up here at the head table, and we'll start with Dave Pierce.
Dave Pierce, I'm an alternate member this evening.
I'm Jim Raymond.
My name is Barbara Griffin.
I'm Kimberly Peace.
Tim Redmond.
Gail LeBrecq, alternate and recording secretary.
I'm Collis Adams, I'm the Select Board Representative.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Thank you, everyone, for identifying yourself. And we have staff from DPW with us.
Sarah Wardy, Town Engineer.
Thank you very much, Sarah. All right, on the agenda, we have some action items to start with, and that is the minutes of our last meeting, July 22nd, 2021. Does anyone have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I move we approve them.
Motion to approve as presented by Jim,
Second.
second by Barbara. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the minutes being accepted as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Everyone, I voted aye.
Yeah. Do you want to appoint an alternate to vote in Karen and/or Rose place?
I sure should, since they're not here, so I apologize for that right out. So we're going to appoint David as a voting member, even if one,
For the first application? Or
well, would you like to switch off with him for a change? Since
Whatever you wish.
All right, well, let's just take it for the first application for Dave, and then you'll vote on the second application, and we'll switch back.
Actually, there's only 5 members here and 2 alternates, so maybe we should both be appointed until or unless.
Okay, and then when one of the other ones shows up, you'll be de-appointed.
Right.
Okay, so you're both voting. Thank you.
I want to see that, a D appoint.
There's a statute in
That was that in Webster's, that book?
there?
that
No,
word?
it's in the RSA somewhere.
All right, so our second action item, we have a request for comments to be forwarded to the Select Board regarding tax seeding for non-payment of 2018 tax levy. We were all presented with a list of tax deeded properties from the tax assessor,
I move that we
collector.
comment that we have no comments because there's no property of particular concern or interest from a
Second.
planning board perspective.
So Jim made a motion to comment that we have no comment. Second by Barbara. Any discussion on the motion?
I visited the sites, and I'll reinforce Jim's comment. I see no obvious liability that would be falling to the town, so proceeding would be correct.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Barbara has a hand
I
up.
I'm
just
sorry,
want to
Barbara.
say, for the record, I talked to the tax collector because this seemed like a longer list than normal to me. And she indicated this letter is actually a little early, and she expects a lot of these to be resolved, or some of them are actually under a current agreement as to how to proceed based on prior years. So that was my reaction to the list when I first saw it, but notwithstanding, I didn't think the majority of them had no planning implications, so.
Okay. Anything else from any other member of the board? Okay. So all those in favor of Jim's motion to not comment on them, say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Abstentions? It passes.
I think the motion here, we submit that we have no comment. I mean, we should respond to the board and say we have no, as opposed to not saying anything.
I suppose that the motion was properly recorded by our
Yeah.
esteemed recording secretary. All right, the last thing is a request from Jacob Lafontaine to be appointed as a representative to the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. Could you tell us about that, please, Joanne?
Yeah, sure. So if you remember, Hank Boyle did not want to be reappointed
Who's that?
for, what,
Phil's here.
Phil's here.
For the next term. So we did some advertising, we put something out on Facebook, and there was something on the website asking if anyone was interested. I hadn't heard from anyone, but I did speak with Jacob yesterday, and we talked about it, and he's actually interested. Jacob moved into town, I think it was in 2020. He's the assistant planner for the city of Salem, or town of Salem, and he wants to seek out appointment to take Hank's place, and that would be, that term runs from 2021 to June of 2025.
So
And that would be a full member.
do you have a recommendation for the board?
I think it's a great idea. Someone stepped forward, he has experience, and he's young.
Can I just check, is David a regular member? David, are you
David is a
You're a
regular
regular
member.
member now,
Yes, I
right?
am.
Barbara's a regular member, I'm an alternate, so Hank's position
Okay.
is.
Is the regular,
Yeah.
okay.
Given that he was also on the Milford Planning Board and other planning, don't we also tell him he has to be on this planning board too?
Right, yeah. Yeah, did you point him to those
Possibly.
openings on the website? Is
I
he
didn't,
here
but I
tonight or
will.
not? I don't
No,
know.
I didn't ask him to
Okay.
come, but, if you'd like to meet with him, you can certainly have him come in. Okay,
Wants to serve, let him serve.
so the next step will be to make a recommendation to,
The planning board to appoint him, so moved.
Second.
Sec-
Motion by Barbara, seconded by Collis, to make a motion to appoint Jacob Lafontaine.
Do we appoint or recommend to the select board?
We recommend.
I thought you recommended.
No, I didn't say that in the,
I think you recommend, and then the selectmen actually vote.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
Wait, he has to have the vote first.
Oh,
so
sorry.
the motion by Barbara, second by Collis, to recommend to the Board of Selectmen Jacob Lafontaine. What is it considered, a citizen at community member, or?
No, it's just a commissioner for the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission
Okay.
representing the town of Goffstown.
There are 3 commissioners representing the town.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, okay, no, you're going to step down on voting because Phil is here now. Thank you. So all those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it passes.
Thank you. Can I just bring up one more quick thing while you're under correspondence? I just wanted to make the board aware that the state law has changed effective August 9th. Any regional impact projects that come in, you have an additional 30 days, so you actually will have 95 days in which to act on a project of regional impact versus 65.
But if we find it does not have regional impact.
Then it's 65.
So should we find all projects have regional impact?
Seems like an easy out.
It does to me.
I actually had a discussion about extending the 65 to like 90 days and having it be non-extendable. That's it. Everything done.
It used to be 90, and it went to 65.
Well, it was supposed to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Well, the only downside to that strategy would be that if you recommended, then Joanne would have to send paperwork in with the other town, so.
Yeah, well,
No, I
yeah.
agree.
That's
You-
true.
you use the club
Okay.
wisely.
Okay, that takes care of our correspondence and action items. Is that correct, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda tonight is an old business item, map 8, lot 36-9, Stephen Noble, 310 Page Hill Road. Joanne, please.
So Stephen Noble was here at your last meeting, and he was missing a few items off of the plan. So the board found the plan incomplete. So they have since, let me just get my paperwork here. They have since added the items, and everything is now included.
Joanne, can you clarify, you just said the board found the application was complete?
Incomplete. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
because your report says that we found it complete.
I recall that we wanted some additional information on the driveways, but we had accepted it for a hearing.
It says incomplete. Where are you reading that?
I had a motion to find it was complete with no regional, made by Jim Raymond, seconded by Barbara at the meeting.
Yeah, that's,
But No, if you look on page 1 of this
No, no, no,
report,
I thought you just said it was incomplete.
at the last meeting, it's complete tonight, but at the last meeting that you had, it was found incomplete.
No,
So-
Joanne, that's,
It says right here on whatever, we've got so much paperwork in front of us, but right here, it says application was accepted as complete.
Okay, it was not accepted as complete. Can everybody do me a favor?
all right.
Can everyone refer to my staff reports instead of the
Chair's report?
chair's agenda?
Okay, so
Because
go,
that is cut and pasted by staff, and this is my report, and this is what you should be referring to.
Okay.
So, at the last meeting, which was held on 7/22, the board found the application incomplete, but they now meet all of the requirements. This is a two-lot subdivision located on Page Hill Road. They would like to divide a total of the two lots. One would be 6.9 acres, and the other one would be 1 acre.
Minutes.
Is everybody with me?
I beg to differ. This is Stephen Noble.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you look at the minutes on page 24,
Joanne, I
It's
think we're fighting over words. We found the application was complete and reviewed it.
Yeah, yeah.
We asked for additional information. We did not have a motion of any sort that stated that the application was incomplete.
look on page 24.
Because I have it in my notes here that we found it complete.
We just approved minutes that
We just
says-
did not, we just asked for more information to come back for our next meeting, which was the driveway.
Joanne, look on page 24 of the minutes from the last meeting. We just approved.
To find it it is complete and has no regional impact.
I don't really care. I mean, it's clear, I mean, we just need to know the motions to be made. We needed more information. It sounds like we have it, but just to get this
Okay.
straight. So that was an error, okay.
To continue the application. Okay, I guess it was complete, but it was continued. So anyway, he's looking to do a two-lot subdivision off of Page Hill Road. And he does have the 80 by 100 feet buildable area. And there's just a small encroachment of an outbuilding into the outer 50-foot wetland setback, but that's an existing building, and that is on the parent lot. There's no encroachments off the new lot. So he is not requesting any waivers. Conservation did review this project and had no issues. And there's some comments from Sarah, but they're just minor comments that would need to be corrected as part of the conditions of approval. Not really corrected, just added as part of the conditions of approval. So we're recommending that this one is ready to go.
Okay, members
Mr.
of
Chair,
the
my
board.
recollection is, Collis, help me, this was the one where you wanted to see the driveway
Yes.
design, and it was not on the prior plan because of the slopes that were involved. So they showed that on the revised plan. And that was
Yes,
the
the one where we
reason
wanted to see all of the work that was going to be done on lot, including grading for the driveways.
Yes, and that was the reason for the continuance.
And they showed that to the Conservation Commission, and they were
They did.
good with it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was missing was the
The 4K septic area.
there, and I don't know if that's been added or if that was an issue.
Yes, it has been added.
But since it was a pretty limited hearing we were going to have tonight, mostly to review that stuff.
On what page, Joanne, of the new plans is the 4K septic area shown?
The second one, isn't it?
there, but no booklet.
This one.
It's on
Sheet two.
2 of 4.
Okay.
And the driveway profile is the last page.
Good, thank you. I looked at the first page, not the second page.
The first page is like this because that's the page that gets recorded. There's not a lot of
Okay.
additional info on there because the registry doesn't like that.
Any other questions or comments from board members before I invite the applicant up to the table? Board members? All right, I would invite the applicant to come up to the table and identify yourselves for the record, please.
Stephen Noble.
This one?
Yeah. Can you switch? Yeah. Go for it. Good evening, board members, chairman. My name is Bob Kilmer from Sanford Surveying and Engineering, representing Joseph Noble with regards to the subdivision at 310 Page Hill Road. Again, as Joanne explained, the parcel, this lot was created by subdivision in 1972, and Joseph and his wife purchased this in '87. At this time, the existing house and barn shown on the plan were in existence at that time. Again, it originally consisted of 8.9 acres. We're proposing to take a 2-acre parcel off at the southwest corner. With it will have frontage on Page Hill Road plus a driveway entry. Again, the lots are generally sloping 10 to 15%, and there are 2 areas on the east side and west side that are within the 25% slopes, but they are between the property line and the building setbacks, so they won't be, again, won't be touched and anything like that. The question about the building, being within the 100-foot wetland setback, because we're doing the subdivision, we're understood that this lot now would be about 100-foot setback, and again, it's basically an existing condition that's been there since the subdivision originally. Again, when we were here last time, the board asked to see a possible drive concept, and that is on page 4, showing sweeping, drainage areas, erosion control, conceptually for the proposed drive, and again, a conceptual house location. Is any questions I can answer now, or?
So you were going to meet the required 10% or less driveway grade for
Correct.
your design?
Correct. The upper part is at the 10%. Again, it's conceptual, showing it getting up that, that far, 290 feet. And again, it still depends on where he finally situates his house and whatever else.
Barbara?
I heard the word conceptual at least 3 times in talking about this driveway. And I need to sort of clarify something, because I know that's what we require, is to show a proposed. But in this particular case, given the slopes, conservation, there's been some determination as to the grading and the plan for it. So I get a little nervous when I keep hearing conceptual and driveway, that what we're going to end up with has nothing to do with what's on the plan. So I guess, I don't know whether that's a question for staff or the applicant or what.
I
Okay.
believe you can ask Sarah, but at the permitting stage, when he finally decides where it is, he will have to have a septic design proving out, and the drive permit, they will, verify all of that. And in
But,
Sarah's...
no, I understand that will be done, but does Sarah, so this is a question for Sarah, does Sarah apply an analysis based on the plan in front of me, or does she apply an analysis based on the permit and the plan at the time?
In the field.
Okay, so the driveway doesn't really have to have any relation to the proposed driveway on this plan?
No.
In the
Okay, I just
past-
want
Since
that,
that question was for me, I'm going to answer really quick.
okay,
In the past, Eric...
Before you do that, just please identify yourself.
Sarah Woody, town engineer.
yeah.
In the past, because Eric handles most of our driveway permits, he said he really does appreciate when the driveway is shown on a subdivision plan, and he goes by that when it comes time for the driveway permit. And he, in the past, has sent people back if they changed it significantly. It's a gray area with the 2-lot subdivisions, because we definitely hold them for it for larger subdivisions. Our regulations don't specify it's required for the 2-lot subdivisions.
Okay,
But,
all right, that's what I wanted to know,
Okay.
thank you.
So, Bob, let me ask you a question for Colin. Excuse me, Colin.
Yep, no problem.
It seems to me that you've designed a driveway that meets the grade requirement. Is that pretty much the only place it could possibly be?
I could assume another engineer could do a little bit different angle or whatever. I don't think it's going to would ever be a large deviation from what you see.
And you picked 290 because you're stepping under the NFPA requirement?
We're at that point, like I said, it's just a matter, and he,
Yeah.
And which means
the
you do
owner
know
or
that
whatever
if-
else, all realize, and at the meeting, once we break that 300 feet, it's going to be a wider driveway and anything else, depending on where he wants.
Right, so those
to build.
determinations will be made. So I think that when this applicant applies for a driveway permit, you're gonna have to give some corresponding documentation for the driveway grade.
Correct.
So that the town can review if there's changes to what you're presenting tonight.
Correct.
Okay. That satisfied, Barbara? To
Okay.
some degree?
Okay.
Carlos?
Yeah, I believe this is akin to the requirement showing a 4K area. You have to show a 4K area to show that on-site wastewater can be handled on the lots that are being created. Whether or not the septic system actually goes there is a different issue.
Right.
That'll happen when it goes to the state for septic system design. So what we're doing is saying, okay, a driveway can go on this property. Whether it goes there or not, it may move, but if it does, it'll be approved by the town.
The thing that alerted me to it is when we have another board review it as compared to staff.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
Okay. Can you just clarify something for me, Bob? You said Joseph Noble when you first came up?
Yeah.
Stephen?
You did. I thought you did. But why is everything Stephen? No, I just want to be clear.
I'm the owner.
Hey,
He's my son. I'm gonna deed the lot to him.
Oh, I'm
once we get
sorry,
this
Joseph
approved.
is the son, Stephen, so,
I just want to make
sorry.
sure we're
Yeah.
Okay.
permitting the proper party.
Yeah,
Should've
well,
looked at my
Once
own-
we get the subdivision approved, I'll deed the lot to him.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Other board members have questions? I'd like to ask Sarah to speak. You have any comments or concerns you'd like to make public at this point, Sarah?
I added comments that have been included in the staff report, just letting them know about the NFPA requirements in the event that once the driveway is established, if it triggers that. There was a drainage analysis included, and as it is modeled, the proposed driveway does not make the existing situation worse.
Thank you. Board members, have any questions for the applicant? Okay, let's move it along then.
Public hearing.
Thank you very much, Barbara. So before I move it along, we're going to open the public hearing for anyone who would like to speak in regard to this application. Anyone here to speak in regard to this application? Okay, there's no one here, so we will close the public hearing. Thank you for that, Barbara.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the application with the conditions listed on our report.
I'll second that.
Motion been made by Jim to approve. And Collis seconded. With, did you make some conditions, Jim, that you were adding?
I'm not adding any unless there's,
Just as a-
I think the list.
Doesn't appear to need any.
Okay, any discussion on Jim's motion to approve this application as presented tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of this application being approved as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? You are approved, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank everyone for allowing us the ability to turn around and get back in as quickly as possible.
Well, you did it. That's all that matters. So, David, I'm going to ask you to step down, and Gail, you'll vote on the next application. So the next application is under new business. It is map 17, lot 17, and lot 18, 670 Mass Road, 6 College Road. The owners are Golden Acres LLC and Sharon Galantis. Joanne, could you please give us a rundown?
Sure. This is for the pizza market site on the corner of College and Warren Ave in Canardville. The pizza market is currently, is map 17, lot 18. And Sharon Galantis also owns map 17, lot 17. And a parcel A, which is shown on the plan, is currently part of 17. However, people use it for parking, and there's some things on there that go with the restaurant. So what they'd like to do is to do a lot line adjustment and eliminate the current line that is there between the two properties and annex 5,231 square feet and bring it over to lot 18, which is the restaurant site, which is what it really should belong to, because that's what they're using it for. The application is complete. There are no waivers requested. There are a few things that they should do as far as the boundary markers. They are not shown on the north side of lot 18. And Sarah has some comments about the boundaries as well along the right-of-way. And the fire department just doesn't want anyone parking next to the building. He has no issues with the lot line adjustment. So we've included the normal conditions that's usually shown, and we have no other comments unless Sarah has something.
No, that's great.
I have a question, Chair.
Jim?
Does this, if we approve this, does it require an amendment to site plan approval?
I think if they officially start using and striping that area as part of their official site, they should
What do you mean
probably show.
official site?
Well, for now, this was just being kind of haphazardly used, but if they're planning to actually turn this into additional official parking where they're striping it and really using it for customer space, it was kind of used like for employees and things like that. I think they should come in and do an amended site plan just to clean it up.
Yeah, I'm not posing that as an obstacle. It's probably a non-material change, right? I disagree with it. Official. If they're using it, they're using it. I mean,
Well, I mean for customer parking.
that's what's happening now, so.
You mean formal? Formalize the
Yeah.
parking.
Official.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly. But yes, that would be something that they should definitely do, because this way it cleans it all up and finalizes that portion of the
But that's not before us today.
No, the only thing before us is the lot line adjustment.
But we're showing gravel parking area on this plan as if that's an
It's
approved.
currently there.
Well, that's the point. I mean, we have a use that's not consistent with their site plan. The site plan should be made consistent, because otherwise we shouldn't be showing an approved use on a subdivision plan if there's no site plan approval for.
This is a lot line adjustment, right? And the
Yeah.
current use is on the current lot, right? And the current lot is not the commercial.
No, but it shows a gravel parking area, which suggests that's a permitted use. I don't see this problem with the modification of the site plan. I just don't want this to take place of that. That should occur, and I don't want to suggest that's
We can make it-
waived by this.
We can make it a condition. Joanne, if this lot line
Can I make a
adjustment,
motion to approve, permission to accept?
Yeah. We have to accept it. Barbara wants to make a motion.
Can I?
Please, Barbara, make
I'll
the
make a
motion.
motion to find that this application has no regional impact and is complete.
I'll second.
Kimberly, got it? Motion to accept is complete and no regional impact. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions? Thank you.
What were you going?
I was going to ask you a question. If this lot line adjustment were granted, would that create any nonconformities on the other lot that is
No, well,
Number-
we checked that,
number 6 College Road?
correct,
That would be completely conforming. We're not creating anything.
right.
Thank you.
Mike Dahlberg is here to present the.
Other board members? Okay, so I'll invite the applicant's representative to come on down.
Yes. We will file an amendment to the site.
Who are you?
You just said, you just invited me down, Mike Dollar.
Thank you.
He's cranky, isn't he?
You've been here enough times, you know the drill.
I do.
I don't know yet sometimes.
So the existing gravel parking area, as you guys all know, in Penodville, there's a serious lack of on-street parking. And all of their young employees need a place to park that's not on the road. I don't know when it morphed from the edge of pavement on that lot line to gravel, but it did. But as a representative of Sam and Sharon Gladys, it's an easy next step to retitle the plan, amended site plan, and just show that as employee parking only. It's not for customers. But they own both properties. In fact, they own lot 19 as well. But they want to eventually, in the near future, divest themselves of lot 17 at the corner of College and Warren. So before that transaction takes place, they would like to do this lot line adjustment.
Okay. Any questions for Mike Dahlberg from the board?
Before you vote on this, would you like to have Mike come back? So you can, would you like to have Mike come back like within a certain time frame, or?
And we can do it subject to that happening, so we don't come back on this application. I'm going to assume it's an easy site plan modification. It's just doing it. We just
Right.
can't waive
We're
that.
just showing the space.
Yeah, the whole rebuild and everything, there is an existing approved site plan for the rebuilt and
Yeah, I remember that.
redone pizza market, so it's not like we have to bring the entire site into conformance. It already conforms and complies.
So if you were to approve the parking as a condition of approval, can Mike modify the plan? or
No,
does
I
that
think it has to
back?
come to us, and then we determine.
Okay,
But I think we can waive
so coming
A lot of-
for a
Yeah, modification of
modification with
site plan.
waivers.
Can it fall under the umbrella of this application for
Why? I
noticing?
think it's a non-material
for noticing purposes, if they have to come back in with,
I mean, we could treat it as amended for purposes of this. I don't care, I just want to make sure the site plan gets
I'm asking a
changed.
question.
And my preference is they file for modification of the site plan approval to show this as employee parking. Whether it has to go for a hearing or not, I'm not sure that it does. Treat it as a non-material change. I don't remember what the current site plan says, so this doesn't show anything about this, so.
Because it's not part of 13 Sam's, it's a market site.
So does that become a separate application to come back into the board, I'm asking?
Well, if he wants to amend it and amend the application, bring that plan in, we could, otherwise we could approve this subject and have that as a condition, subsequent, and have him come in, you know, the next meeting and do it, but I assume they want to get this done.
Yeah, they would.
Go ahead.
If we approve as a condition, could that, I kind of agree with Barbara, couldn't that be a non-material change? Like they come in, I don't know why we need to drag it out in front of us. And it doesn't seem like that big of a change. I mean, we're all sort of aware that it's coming.
Well, why don't we have the, Mike make a representation of what the change would be, and we can give some guidance to staff on whether we let them treat it as a non-material change.
So the change would be to add notes onto change the title block on this plan, create another plan electronically, change it to a site plan amendment or amended site plan, reference the date and approval of the prior site plan, and add a note that the gravel parking is exclusively for employees only, and not for expanding the business, or something to that effect. And that would be the amended site
Let
plan.
me ask a question. Do you know whether the client plans any physical modifications to the portion of the lot that is subject to the lot line adjustment?
No, they'd like to leave it just the way it is.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I would certainly think it is non-material and that the amended site plan showing the new lot size with the gravel parking for employees could be dealt with by staff.
I agree.
That's fine. I would say that, put in the minutes, based on the applicant's representations, and that would be used for staff parking only with no material changes, that we find it's a non-material site plan, a change to the site plan. And
So then I would
permit
like,
the staff to make that change.
Because if he comes back in,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
going to
not
want to
direct.
see nice big circles for snow storage and all that extra
so
space.
should I be
so I won't
looking
do
for a motion for that non-material change business prior to the lot line adjustment?
We'll make that we'll make that part of the motion.
Yeah.
Make that a part of the motion. Okay. Any other issues that need to be dealt with here right now? I'd like to ask if the town engineer has any comments for this application?
I do not. My biggest comment was just making sure that all monuments were established.
Okay.
Are those on the conditions?
Yes.
Okay, number 8.
Those are on the plan in my computer, you just don't have it in front of you.
Is that like the dog eating my homework?
Okay. Any other discussion on this application? I will open the public hearing if there's no more discussion at this time from board members. Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is anyone in the audience tonight that would like to speak on this application?
I just have a quick question.
Could you please, no, come on up to the podium and state your name and be on the record.
Hi, my name is Catherine Brewster, and we're one of the abutters. And the only question I have is, how are they going to manage that just being for the employees? Because it is not now. There are customers that park in that area. And is it going to remain just a field, basically what it is now. That's the only question I have.
Okay.
And until Sam put in the fence, people were driving through to the dead-end road where we live on. But the fence is there now.
You're referring to Gold Street?
Yes. Because Gold Street is a dead end, and then without the fence, when the fence had fallen down, people were riding through it, driving through it.
Why don't we make it a condition that the fence be maintained? Whose fence is it? Is it-
Well, it's gonna be lot 18.
It's
Yeah.
going to belong to the pizza market.
Yeah.
lot.
That's what I
Okay, well,
assumed,
we
yeah.
can add that as a
But when
condition.
it fell down, there was a big time frame where there was discussion on who was paying for the fence to be put up, and it just took them way too long.
Okay.
And we had to put up with some things that were not acceptable.
Okay.
And like I said, so he's not gonna have to do anything to that lot. The lot is just gonna stay a field.
This is what he's representing to us this evening.
Okay.
He's represented to us that they're going to leave it as in its present condition, and if it's going to be for employee parking only, we could probably require that they put some signage up to that effect. I don't know that everybody reads signs. I don't know that customers read signs.
No, they don't.
So we're not the sign police. We can
Right.
make a best effort to try to
Right, I
ensure
was,
that.
like I said, I was just concerned of the overflow parking. I mean, they don't have that much parking, so,
Okay. Well, thank you for your
Certainly as
comments.
part of the approval, we can condition that they put up signs.
Yes, we can require
restricting it
signage.
to Employee parking only.
Mike's shaking his head yes in the back, so he's already on board with it.
thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. Anybody else would like to speak at the public hearing this evening? Please come on up.
My name's Keith Brewster, and the only thing is, okay, he's gonna keep things as it is, which is basically a dirt or gravel parking area. So he's never gonna be required to pave, stripe, drainage, or lighting. Is that correct, or?
Well, the assertion is that he has told us tonight they want to leave it as is. There's no
Okay.
mention of any of that.
Okay.
Could you briefly expand on your concerns? Tell us why
I
you
think
did-
just the lighting, because sometimes parking lot lighting, you get but residential area,
Okay.
you have a bunch of houses, sometimes you get the tall pole lightings, depending on the wattage and stuff like that. It can be quite bright at night.
We actually have regulations that try to protect residents from that.
Okay,
We require lighting studies which show how far the light is cast
Mhm.
from any fixture in each direction and
Okay.
what its strength
Right.
is at points. We also have a night sky ordinance.
okay.
as
Yeah,
well.
because the lighting he has now doesn't affect
Right.
anything. He's got a fairly tall fence behind the building, which the lighting, the safety lighting that they have out back, doesn't bother anybody.
We
so.
can ask a few more questions of the applicant when they come back up and see what answers they may have.
Okay,
Regarding your concerns.
all right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for public hearing tonight? Okay, seeing none at this time, we'll close the public hearing.
Well, do we want to bring the applicant to respond to the questions?
I would.
Because it's still part of the public hearing.
Oh, it's part of the public hearing?
Well, we can't let him speak. We have to keep it open, I think. Yeah.
Just in case someone wants to ask a follow-up.
A follow-up question. So the public hearing has remained open. Mr. Dahlberg, could you please take your spot at the table again? So we've had a couple of concerns from residents here that have been addressed tonight. Are you planning any additional lighting in that parking lot?
No, and we'll add a note to that effect.
And we will probably have to require that if lighting is proposed at any future time, you'd have to return to the board for
Yeah,
more discussion.
The note I will put on the plan and say there's no new lighting, and then the second part of that note would be if any lighting needs, they want to add lighting, they have to come back for it.
Come back for
Even the
permission.
second approval.
The subject of the fence the owners own the fence. We are probably going to condition that the owner is to be responsible for that fence in perpetuity to make sure it stays up and in good working order.
Is that fence on the current plan?
Yes.
And any paving or striping, obviously, once again, would also be another subject because of the
Yep.
impervious surface calculations and all that goes on, since that's a field. Parking lots are different. And the last thing is, would you propose any signage for employee parking only at this time?
We can show some signs on the plan.
I guess I need to follow up on my fencing question, I wasn't clear. Is the only fencing that's there now, the current fencing that's on the lot? I mean, I'd be surprised if there was anything else, but I'm just clarifying. The fencing simply runs behind the restaurant, right? It doesn't go up.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
No,
it's just a
it's showing
thinner
this one.
line.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah,
Hard
no,
to
thank
see
you.
that.
No.
Oh, I can see it up at the edge where it
Yeah, the,
diverts slightly. So it does go along
It shows
1723.
on the big plan.
It does, and it blocks off the access to Gold Street as
Okay.
well.
All right, okay, sorry. I don't do the big.
I'll change the
I need
size
to
of
dig.
that fencing so it stands out.
Okay.
So Mike, looking at your plan, the area in discussion for the employee parking,
Mm-hmm.
it appears that along the present lot line, those are all striped spaces.
It wouldn't be.
How do they access that area and get out of there if those spaces are all striped and in use? Are you going to propose eliminating a space, or we just, they
I
have to
believe that,
take a chance when there's no one there to go home?
yeah, that the employees that show up first park in one spot and they leave a space open.
People are pretty able to
They-
manage themselves. in
I'm just
regards
asking
to
because
that.
you show no access to it on the present plan.
They make it work.
They make it work?
That's all I can say. It was very similar comment to when we got this approved 12 or 13 years ago. Anyone who goes to Pizza Market knows how it works. I'm not being flipped.
I remember you saying that, in fact.
And Goss McCray asked that question. I said, look, everyone that goes there knows how it works. All the employees know how it works. One of my kids worked there, and they said, this is where you park. If you're coming in, last and you're working the late shift, this is where you park, and when everyone else leaves, you go home. They make it work.
Okay, good. Have I forgotten anything else from other board members to ask?
No, I have
Mike?
3 conditions: the fence, no additional lighting, and employee parking signage and usage only.
And additional paving or striping would be a site plan
Yeah,
modification.
like I say, any further development of the site's going to require a site plan.
Site plan modification. Okay. So at this point, I will close the public hearing, unless do you want to rebut our folks in the back, or you have any other comments?
We're happy.
So we're going to close it at 8:50.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the applicant's oral modification of the plan to include a site plan modification, and that we find the site plan modification is not material and does not require a hearing, subject to the conditions we're going to put on the approval, which are, we approve the plan as amended to include the conditions in the report, plus the following conditions as number 12, that the owner maintain the fence that on the end of Gold Street, and prevent any cross, I don't know what the right word is, travel onto Gold Street. Second, that there be no additional lighting on the site. Third, that the use will be for employee parking only as represented, and that the applicant add signs as approved by the planning director, indicating that any further, and finally, that any further site development would require coming back before this board for a modification site plan approval.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Jim, seconded by Phil.
Let me just make note, he also said he would change the line type on the fence so that it stands out.
Yeah, and that, yeah, okay, make that a condition of the approval.
Did you hear all that, Mike?
Yes.
Folks,
Sorry.
excuse me,
That-
folks,
That,
could you please not have a conversation in the back of the room? It carries up here. Thank you.
that condition does not have to be on the plan as a condition, but rather on the condition that, for the staff to approve the amended plan.
Okay, motion's been made to accept the plan with the conditions, adding 12, 13, 14, and 15, as I wrote down. Any other discussion on the motion for this?
Yeah, I don't know where you put the number, that we're accepting the amendment to make it also a site plan amendment.
One of those things in there, he said the plan, he meant lot line adjustment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. My translator here on the left will tell you what I really meant to say.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? Okay, with the motion on the floor, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Application is all set for the lot line adjustment with conditions. Okay, our next application is under new business.
Can we switch the next two? It'll work?
Why?
Because we have one abutter with the 21 Elm Street.
I move that we switch. Mr. Chair, on that basis, the applicant's request, if you're proposing for both?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I think on motion, we can move it, so. I move that we take up 21 Elm Street next.
Is that a form of a motion, Jim?
It is.
Anybody second it?
No second.
Kimberly, Kimberly. So the motion is to change the order of the applications in the agenda.
Yeah, and here, 21 Elm Street next.
Okay, the motion is to change the order agenda. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Dave, your vote.
I'll vote yes if I'm back on.
You are back. We're just switching back and forth. I'm going to let you people figure it out. Kind of like the pizza market. Okay, Phil, go ahead.
So we're gonna move this.
So, map 38, lot 117 is to subdivide a parcel into 4 lots. Could you please give us the rundown on that, Joanne?
Yes. So the parcel is located in the Village Commercial District on the corner of Elm Street and Maple Avenue, near Maple Avenue Elementary School. The applicant would like to subdivide, the lot currently consists of 26,672 square feet, and they would like to subdivide this into 4 lots. Each lot would meet the minimum 5,000 square foot requirement, as well as the 50-foot frontage. The applicant, one of the concerns that I have is on the checklist for completeness, it requires a traffic report for lots 4, I think it's to 15 or something. So I had told Mike that actually I'd have to recommend that the application is incomplete. He would like to know if the board would be willing to waive the completeness for acceptance purposes and hear from him because he'd like to make a short presentation.
Is it normal that we don't have the owner's name in the in our work here? It just says the owners, doesn't say who the owners are. Is that normal or is that abnormal?
It's at the top, Falcon Heights Properties.
I'm reading it right here, map 38, lot 117. So it's Falcon Heights?
Yeah. It
It's
says
on the
prepared for
application.
Falcon Heights.
Well, I'm reading the agenda, not the application.
Oh, the agenda doesn't say it.
Does this need to go to conservation?
Yes, so that's one of the other things that we do not have comments yet from conservation because they're not meeting until the end of the month. So you can't take action on this tonight.
No, we
So-
can accept, but we just typically then don't act until we acceptance is a different
So the
step.
Concom comments have nothing to do with acceptance, it's just the traffic study. So you could waive the completeness criteria for the traffic report and hear the application, or you could find the application incomplete and then we start all over again.
Is this the only plan that's going to be necessary to consider this application? Or are there, I mean, is this going to conservation for wetlands? I mean, what? Huh?
There's no wetlands out there.
Yeah, so,
No, so we send everything to conservation. And I don't know if they'll have much to say about this one, other than possibly, this location or something.
right.
But, yeah, this is one of the plans that needs to go to conservation.
I'm curious about your statement to waive the completeness. I don't understand what that means.
So you've done this in the past, which I've always been against, but you've done it where you've you've waived the criteria for completeness for acceptance purposes only, and then you hear the application, but then once you have everything in place, you go back and vote on it. So in this particular case, you're missing the traffic report. I believe the applicant can speak for himself, but I believe he was unaware that that was a requirement of completeness.
How does our regulation, does it require, or is it something we can require?
It's required on,
For-
I don't know why.
For
It's
4 or greater?
4 or greater, and that's probably something we should look to change in the future, because normally studies come later, not right away up front, so.
Well, Mr. Chair, well, we have people here, and it's otherwise, there's some issues, a straightforward application. I would move that we accept it for hearing, subject, and waive the traffic study for acceptance only, but not for consideration on the merits, and that we would continue this to further hearing.
So your motion is to find it's complete, but waive the completeness
Yeah.
requirement for acceptance purposes only for the traffic
Correct.
study.
Correct.
Is there a regional impact?
I'm
No
sorry?
regional impact.
No, I'm sorry, no, yeah. No regional impact, so stuck with 65 days, but we got an AC club on that one.
All right. All right, so Jim's made a motion to accept this application as complete and ready for review, with the traffic study being waived and for acceptance purposes only with no regional impact. Anybody seconding Jim's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Anybody have any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting this with the terms as Jim has laid forward, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? We have declared it accepted. So, board members, before we begin with any applicants, do you have any questions for staff at this time?
My impression, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the concerns that were addressed were really related to the busyness of this location in the intersection.
Correct.
There weren't other planning issues that I saw identified.
The
But
others, which
tell me
I
if I'm
guess
missing.
you could tie it in with the traffic, or possibly the location of the driveways.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Joanna, the
Ties
frontage
into-
requirements met for the village commercial district?
Yes, it's only 50 feet.
Okay, I thought it seemed awfully small considering all the rest of the lots going down the road. Okay, Kimberly?
Okay. Just for my knowledge, I know we're gonna address it in the traffic, but 90.38 feet for that frontage and the driveway is closer than that. Isn't that too close to the intersection?
So that does not apply in the village commercial.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Alrighty.
Bill, you had a question?
4 lots, I see it over here, but it might be here.
but each one shows water and sewer connection?
There is presently one water and sewer connection at that site that have been disconnected. It would have to be all new connections.
So 3 lots,
4 lots.
4 lots would need 4 sewer connections.
Three new ones, there's one
Well,
existing.
Right, but it'll be a total, okay.
Yeah, they're
Well,
showing the proposed.
Right. I guess just a question I have for clarification is with 3 new ones, both sewer and water, it was brought up with the car wash that they were supposed to go to sewer before coming to the planning board. Does this have to go to sewer before coming to the planning board
No.
since there's 3 of them?
Not according to our regulations, it does
Well,
not.
Joanne has, I'll speak to that. Joanne has said that our sewer regulations do not require the applicant to come before the sewer commission first.
Our subdivision regulations.
Any regulation. Anybody who wants to hook up to municipal sewer, according to the sewer use ordinance, is supposed to appear before the sewer commission. But Joanne has interpreted our regulations to say that it's not a requirement.
Right, it's a requirement before the plans are signed, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah, and
before
our
it's
regs do not incorporate
No.
the sewer, they're separate, so our regs govern us.
But all we're doing at the sewer level, and I speak as the chairman of the sewer commission, we are trying to avoid applicants from spending money for a planning application to only come before the sewer commission to find out that there's not enough capacity for this project to hook onto the sewer main, which is a risk they take. But it's an attempt at our end to try to help people along.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
that, but
all.
we're the planning board, so our regs
Oh,
control us.
And just so you know, when we either talk to people or have our TRC meetings, we always recommend that they go see fire and sewer before they submit, but not everyone does that.
So they're not technically required to come before the sewer commission.
No, not.
They can do all their planning and get all their engineering done and spend all their fees and come to the sewer commission and say, nope, there's no capacity. And then we all end up in court, I guess, somehow.
Well, I asked the question because my recollection is that applicant was told that that there was something incorrect about his application because he came here, applied, and there were a couple of times that he was here, and it was told that he had to go to sewer, so that's why
The regulations don't.
I understand that,
I'm
but
not
I'm
gonna
just bringing up a point as a member of the planning board, sitting here and hearing this applicant being told this. And now, I'm asking a question, there's 3 new sewer connections here. Aren't they going through the same process? And now that it's not, so that's all I asked that question for consistency. And so that applicant, my understanding is that applicant did not have to not come back here and go to sewer commission. He could have come back here before he went to the sewer commission.
Yep, you're right on all counts.
Thank you.
I believe Tim had concerns for that particular application because it had a higher.
Well, I understand that. That's not my issue. My issue is.
So we won't be bringing this up ever again at a planning meeting. They can take their own risks. Sarah, I have a question for our town engineer.
Yes.
Sarah, has Elm Street or Maple Avenue undergone reconstruction where there's a moratoriums on either of those 2 roads?
So one of my comments is actually that Elm Street from Main to Maple is slated for a 1.5-inch overlay for this year. It is sounding like, due to timing of other projects and delays with the contractors, that it might be pushed to next year. But I did want to make the applicant aware that once that is overlaid, there's a 3-year moratorium and they will likely not be allowed to cut in. There are definitely additional costs associated with cutting in, but it's rarely, exceptions are granted usually for emergency purposes only, not.
But Elm Street is not currently under a 10-year moratorium from rebuilding?
No.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for staff at this point from board members? Okay, I'd like to invite Mr. Dahlberg back up to identify himself and start over.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Dahlberg, representing Falcon Heights Properties, and I will be brief, and I thank you for your consideration for the traffic study. When I saw that comment in Sarah's review, I guess I'm derelict in my responsibilities. I thought that was more of a suggestion to discuss with the board. I didn't realize it was a requirement for 4 lots or more. So the traffic study is underway now. I got all the electronic data to the engineer. He's doing his thing, and we'll have that shortly. That having been said, understanding that it's a tight little area, it's not a lighted intersection, but during peak hours, there is a traffic guard there that controls traffic quite well and is usually supervised by a Goffstown police officer. But I'll let the traffic engineer do his job, and then Sarah and staff can review that and make their recommendations to the board. But it's pretty straightforward. I know there were some comments from the fire department about drainage and stuff on the lot to the north, lot 117-2. I was involved with that project as well. And the drainage that affected that lot in the driveway has nothing to do with lot 117. It's the drainage swale that runs along the entire northerly boundary, intercepts all that drainage, and it is a Group 1 excessively drained soil. That's really not an issue that applies to this this lot. Other than that, I don't think there were any other real issues other than the traffic study. So I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss tonight. Just get it out there and let Karen see the plan to speak to the board. And
Kimberly.
So looking over the numbers, you've got the minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. With those setbacks, can you still get something in there with maximum lot coverage of 90% and still meet all of those setbacks?
yeah, sure.
So these setbacks listed on the plan are incorrect.
Oh.
The front setback is actually in that zone. The front setback is actually 10 feet.
Oh,
The side
yeah,
is 10 and the rear is 25.
So what do they represent right now?
25, 15, and
Well,
30.
graphically, they are correct. The note was copied and pasted from another plan, and I failed to update those numbers within the note format.
So is your dotted line shown on the plan the accurate side and
Yes.
front setback lines? So
Yes.
what's represented is what is the real
Yes.
thing?
It's just in the notes, it's wrong.
Yeah,
Forget the notes.
Okay.
yeah.
You just
All right.
never believe your notes again, but it's okay.
Board members? Hollis?
Can I do? But back when there were some lots created along Maple Avenue, this whole issue of this 20-foot wide drainage easement, and there is some drainage that comes down through there. There was a lot of discussion. Is this a stream? Is it a ditch? Is it a wetland? What is this? It went on and on and on about what it is. I think if I recall correctly, and this was a number of years ago when there were lots created along Maple Avenue, that they were going to establish this drainage easement so that at least could be maintained. So I would like to see a note added here that there are no wetlands present on the property, just to put that issue to bed.
We do have a letter coming from Alden Boschman. I asked him to have a look at that,
Okay.
to affirm that position that it was not a wetlands before, and that the prior applicant actually created that ditch and that easement. I knew that question was coming up. I just don't have that letter in hand.
I'm fine with that as long as we have a note to clarify that.
So the water did not go down through there prior to the creation of that swale?
I believe it sat there. It was not
It's a
properly
huge swampy area,
channeled.
even now,
Very wet.
Um,
even now.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned, I'm questioning, Carlos, you say there's no wetlands on the area, but
I didn't say that.
I thought you just said you wanted to have no wetlands.
I want a note saying there are no wetlands.
Oh, you want it affirmed?
Yeah, exactly.
I see. I thought you were suggesting that.
No.
Thank you. I misunderstood your
I'm
statement.
gonna put a note that says, Collis said there are no wetlands.
No, I think that would be improper.
I'll leave my business card.
All right, yeah, because I don't know what is what, but it seems to me that is kind of wet.
Oh, it was very contentious back then when those lots were created.
I remember when they were.
Yeah.
And when we allowed the lot to be on the other side street up there,
Yeah.
that's where that water came
Spring
from.
Street, yeah.
Oh, I remember all the representations about this little piece of property.
All right, more questions?
That's my recollection. I'm just saying, I didn't do those plans. That's just my recollection of what I was told.
Any other questions, Kimberly?
Well, I guess, just because it's a drainage easement doesn't mean that it's not necessarily a jurisdictional
I
wetland.
agree.
It could very well be a jurisdictional wetland, but it might not have our setbacks because it's so new. Question will be man-made, but jurisdictional nevertheless, so.
I agree. Just that be clarified, so as they create these additional lots, any work that goes on out there, we know what's what.
Right.
And should the determination be made that it is a wetland, so then do wetland setbacks then apply as our wetland setbacks are in the town of Goffstown, or is there something about the village commercial district that gets a break on them?
No. But the two separate questions, depends on the size of the wetland.
Okay.
It's pretty small.
More,
Huh?
2,000 square feet or more.
And the second part of the question was, the only place you get a break, I think, are in the the industrial.
Commercial, industrial.
Right.
flex,
Could
yeah.
be a site plan authority with us.
We're all talking about wetlands, I'm going to educate myself.
Can I just ask my question? So just as a reminder to all of us, so then after the lot line adjustment, as these come in to be built out, will we see a site plan? Or once they're, because we won't see a subdivision plan. So as these become built, whatever they are, house or business or whatever, we won't see it again.
No, this would be the subdivision plan. I've asked that they include proposed house locations and maybe even approximate size of the house, because you do want to leave some space for a yard and enough parking.
Yeah, I'm really concerned with compatibility with the rest of the neighborhood in regards to what's going on here.
So Kimberly made an interesting statement, business or residence, so that means these could be businesses, these lots, because it is the village commercial district.
Right.
These could all be, you could have 4 businesses on these sites if the applicants deem to create businesses here.
You could.
They'd have to
Or
come-
build a house and run a business out of it.
They'd have to come in for site plan approval
Yeah,
unless
parking,
it's,
access and all that.
After they did the subdivision.
Okay. All right, so at this time, Mike, I'll ask you to either slide over by the easel or whatever you'd like to do, and I'll open the public hearing.
Hi, I'm Karen Henderson, 17 Elm Street. Thank you for swapping the agenda so I could go over this one. So obviously, as a close abutter, I have some concerns about the lot being subdivided like this. First, to talk about the wetlands or not wetlands. When I first purchased 17 Elm Street, there were little placards, little green signs along that swale that said wetlands. And when this property, how do we refer to it? When this was purchased from Mrs. Katsikis and subdivided to that lot 117-2 was then built.
Right.
Suddenly those little signs were gone. And there's been floods. I mean, obviously we remember like the big floods of the last 15 years or whatever. But even recently on Christmas this past year, this whole entire, what would be 38-117 was basically underwater. And I have pictures of that. I mean, that swale, if that's what we call it, I don't know, that drainage easement, has to carry a lot of water, and it frequently doesn't. There's been times where my backyard is filled with water from it, but mostly it's that lot, which was the backyard of the house that was there. The tenants that rented from Joe for quite a while, they had swing sets that were underwater, and which, I'm sure all that can be fixed, but there is a lot of water that comes through there. And my concern of having 4 houses with additional pavement and that much less ground space to absorb that, where's that water gonna go? When the first time that these plans were brought to my attention, the first plan showed 4 units side by side that were all like duplexes. It was actually going to be 8 units, I think, is what he first proposed. So are these single family houses that were being proposed? It's kind of what I'm wondering. 4 driveways, these 2 driveways, isn't that where the buses are usually lined up and trying to get out of school? If I lived there and I was trying to get out of my driveway anytime while school was in session, I'd be really upset on those driveways on Maple Avenue. And then I guess, I get it. I'm all for development in the right way. It's sad to see big old houses come down. I know that one had a lot of issues. But just filling a lot with more buildings doesn't always seem the right answer for the village part of town, which I think has a lot of character. And if we put up, 3-story buildings so that we can fit a garage and 2 floors, like the ones by the common, really takes a lot of it takes a lot away from the village area that we really pride ourselves in here. So those are some of my initial concerns about packing that much into this lot. I guess that's all I have right now.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else want to speak at the public hearing? None, we will close it for this evening. Is it proper to close it or suspend it?
Well, close it for the evening.
Close it for the evening.
That's good enough. I'm going to move that we continue this. Question is to when?
Did you have a question?
I guess I have a comment maybe. So if you have 4 lots, you have to do a traffic study. Mike, I know you said you've already started that process, but boy, 117, 38, 117 is really, really, really wet. And when you look at the topo, that's pretty wet. And Karen's point about the driveways, now we're going to have 2 driveways that are coming off of Maple Avenue, and I'm sure we'll have to talk about that at the traffic study, but she's right. There are times of the day when those will be blocked, and I'm just wondering if there was any consideration to making these 3 long lots instead of 4, gets you out of the traffic study, and then everybody might have a flooded backyard, but we're not going to deal with a flooded 38, 117, because I don't know what they're going to do on that lot. So I agree with you, Karen. There's a lot of water that comes up out of that 20-foot drainage easement that doesn't just stay where you want the water to stay. So that's maybe just my comment.
That was one of my recommendations, and it also would eliminate one of the driveways on Main.
And I just wanted to put that out there because I know you're currently doing a traffic study, so.
Point is well taken. I will speak with my client. And we'll speak to it in the next meeting.
May I come? So I agree with the need for a traffic analysis. I think there also should be a drainage analysis done on this property. We're going to be getting a whole lot more impervious areas with roofs and driveways and parking areas in an area that we know is already challenged as far as drainage goes. So I'd like to see a detailed drainage analysis of this development.
Bill, did you want to comment? I heard you.
No.
Can we make that a recommendation of the whole board so it doesn't come and just call us and second that request?
What do you want, a straw vote on it?
Yeah, I think I want to make sure that it's not just an outspoken call us, but I want to see our board say, yeah, we want that.
So I'll take a straw poll on board members here. Collis has suggested that we require a drainage study for the site.
I have a question before the...
Go ahead.
Collis, would the drainage study look at the fact that the, whatever the annual event of a storm would be, that the 12-inch pipe under Maple is not sufficient to handle some storm level? And
It's actually a double
And
pipe.
perhaps-
Well, that was one of my concerns. It says 12 inch, but then it says twin
It's-
12 inches. So
It's
which
a
is
twin
it?
pipe, twin 12s.
Twin 12, that, you know, that perhaps to encourage the town to put in some long-range plan culvert replacements, but, you know, that
Well,
would come out.
generally speaking, we would require an applicant to make those as an off-site improvement,
Thank
not the town incur the...
Okay, but, so a drainage study would reveal the need.
And if I may speak to that, and Collis, I don't know, or Kimberly, you know about these things, that may actually act as a way to slow the water down from charging across the next lot
Right.
and finding its way on down to the river. That might actually serve a purpose by having the water back up in that area and then slowly draining downstream. So those are other considerations that I think are worth discussing. Sarah?
Another thing from just experience on another project, if wetlands are found in the area, DES really is not a fan of twin culverts for aquatic passage. So they would likely recommend that be switched to a box culvert if like improvements. Instead of upsizing the pipes, they would probably require us to do a box culvert.
Boy, that would get expensive.
And that would be part of the
You
drainage.
may find that the downstream swale is not deep enough.
Right, because that thing behind those houses
Yeah.
is like a little 3-foot wide rock line ditch is basically what it is. I've seen it. Okay.
So, yeah, I think all of that can be clarified with a drainage study.
Okay.
Because it does say twin 12-inch CMPs, but at the outlet, it says 12-inch, implying one CMP will. So which is it? And-
Well, they're at the same grade.
The same
Side by
elevation.
side.
All right, any more discussion on before we have our straw poll removed?
So I guess I have a different question then. So, you know, we've seen lot line adjustment or subdivision plans where we've shown the house in 4K, but in the village commercial, they don't have to show that?
Sewer and water.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, got it. But they don't have to show the imaginary house block?
No, they just have a buildable area that they're allowed to use.
Okay.
That's all they can use. Right
Okay.
out to the dotted line.
But then we can assume that, you know, they could impervious that entire dotted line area, cover.
They could.
They could build
Then
a monster house there.
But they still can have driveways
Right.
outside of the buildable box.
Okay.
We have a lot coverage maximum.
90%.
90%, yeah.
So they could.
That's what I was looking at that number going, wow.
Okay.
Well, realistically, they could pave right out to the property line.
Yeah, so I guess we'd expect the drainage study to show worst case development.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so can we move on to the straw poll? Do we have any other questions here? So Collis has made a recommendation that the applicant provide us with a drainage study. I'd like to have a straw poll on the matter. We'll go one at a time, and we'll have, Dave, would you vote on this, please? So Dave,
I vote yes for the drainage
Yes.
study.
Jim, Barbara,
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
I vote yes. Phil? And Collis.
I guess I'd have to say yes.
So, Mr. Dahlberg, did you hear that loud and clear?
I'm writing down unanimous on my letter here.
Okay, so do we have any other discussion on this before we have a motion to move this to a date
Can
certain?
we find out when it should come back?
Yes, so I'm not sure how much time Mike will need. You should probably ask him first, but we do not want to continue this to September 9th because we have the laundromat that evening. And September 23rd, we have,
You have a brilliant, tantalizing CIP presentation.
Super exciting.
as well as
So far, only in the,
one application.
for the 23rd?
For Terrell Hill Road,
For the-
yes.
On the, no, that says, Carroll Hill is on the 9th.
okay.
I'm going to move that we move this, we continue this to September 23rd.
Would that be adequate time for you, Mr. Dahlberg? Okay. And Karen, you're duly noted, we're going to continue this to the 23rd. All right, so there's a motion to continue this to a date certain of the September the 23rd, made by Jim. Who was it seconded by?
Me.
Yeah.
Give it.
Oh, I got you. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This application has been moved to September 23rd. Okay, we're going to go backwards now on our agenda. And we're going to go back to... We're back in time to map 33, 17, and 18, 94 and 98 New Boston Road, and another Falcon Heights project. Could, Joanne, could you please give us a rundown?
Yeah, let me just find
Excuse me, while I listen to you.
Okay. This property is located on New Boston Road. The applicant would like to subdivide and do a lot line adjustment. So the lot line adjustment would be between lots 17 and 18. And then there would be a subdivision for lot 17, which you would end up with 17 and 17-1 and 18. So you'd wind up with 3 lots instead of 2, and you would do a lot line adjustment on lot 18, showing parcel A, which is kind of juts out to accommodate for an existing structure. The issue with this one is that there is a driveway shown for lot 17-1, and the driveway travels within the 50-foot outer buffer. And I checked with the code enforcement officer, and she told me that that would need a relief of the 50-foot setback, which would also trigger a certified wetland scientist report regarding functions and values of the wetland itself. So when I wrote this report a week ago and sent it out to you, we did not have that report in hand, but we do have it. I mailed it to you last Friday. I emailed it to you last Friday, and we have hard copies on the table. So if the board wants to accept that report, then the plan and the application would be complete.
It's only from the outer 50 feet that they need relief, correct?
Yeah, it's the outer 50, and there was a question, because the zoning ordinance allows crossing of a wetland with a driveway, but there's no mention about traveling within the buffer of the wetland.
We've run into this before.
Well,
And I know years ago there was a conclusion on it. I don't remember what that was, so that's why I went to Nancy, and she said that they do need the relief. So that's why the report is here. The wetlands were flagged in March by Keyland, and the report is also from Keyland. This also has to go to the Conservation Commission, especially because there's a wetland involved. And again, they're meeting at the end of the month, so I don't know if you want to look at this one tonight.
Well, it's complete then with that.
It's complete with the report.
With the report we have tonight.
Correct.
That's the wetlands. So, before we go any farther, does anybody want to make a motion to the effect?
If we're going to accept the report, which came in late but came in, we can find it's complete and find no legal impact and accept it for hearing.
Is that a motion, or is that just a
Well,
statement?
it's a motion.
Seconded by?
Me, a second.
Motion's been made and regional impact, Jim?
Yeah, no regional impact.
So the motion's been made to find this application complete, ready to review with no regional impact. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'm trying not to be corrected, so I'm trying to do a better job.
I put money on we'd be out of here by 9 o'clock,
I know.
so I'm not
Okay.
trying to make it later.
Can I get you to do
Gail,
that whole
you are
time?
voting on this application.
What time
So
does
you
that say?
can 3-1, you drop by 8:45.
So, the board turn to comment before we start. This lot looks a lot like a lot we just talked about where the only area for a house and a septic is inside the 100-foot setback, and the people are going to be out there in that 50-foot setback doing lots of things after they get their houses built, and we don't know anything about it because we don't have wetland setback police in our town. It really is, I can't say it on TV, but it's too tight for my liking.
I have a question, and Kimberly or Collis can answer it. I heard Joanne, I think, say that somebody say the wetlands were flagged in March, and I have a report in August. So is there a protocol for when wetlands should be marked and when values should be determined, or is there anything like that? I can't imagine with all those regs there's not something.
Well, you have to be able to demonstrate that you have the 3 parameters, which means you need soils, vegetation, and hydrology. So the conditions have to be appropriate to do that. When during the year can that happen? Whenever those conditions are present. Sometimes we have dry winters, usually warm winters, you can get out there and get a longer field season now. Sometimes this field season is shorter.
Okay.
So it's really best professional judgment on the wetland scientist who's out there doing the work.
Okay.
Is any one season more advantageous to the report than another season?
Well, springtime is when you're going to get, it's going to be the easiest to do.
Well,
But I
I
mean,
mean, I'm
what-
just wondering, because
what
their
one-
photos are now, and
Yeah,
the
right,
flagging
right.
was
In
March,
August,
so I'm like,
Yeah, we got March and August, right?
I don't know, somebody said March, that's
Yeah,
why I
I
asked.
see photos taken March 3rd.
My question to you, Collis, was is there a season where it's more advantageous to the applicant
What
to have it
photos were
done
taken March
versus
3rd?
another season when it's less advantageous to the applicant?
Well, no, they should have the qualifications to be able to delineate it in any season of the year.
Okay, curious. I mean, it's like checking for radon when the windows are open in your basement.
You know, the hydric soils are going to be there. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because you're going to see the indicators. And the vegetation's going to be a little more difficult because, you know, when it's wet and in the growing season, they're going to be there. In the wintertime, leaf off, not so easy, but still doable.
Okay.
All right, so any questions for staff? Do you have any statements for us at this time, our esteemed town engineer?
Most of my comments were minor plan edits. And then I recommended that the wetland district waiver be requested.
Wetlands District waiver?
The setback.
The setback,
That they had
wetland
to
surface
apply
water
for a waiver
conservation.
for to build within the outer 50 feet for the driveway.
Okay. We'll absorb for a minute here and then we'll move on. Once we're ready to move on to the application. Okay, Mr. Dahlberg, you're up for the 3rd time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Dahlberg, and land surveyor prepared this plan. To answer your question about the wetlands, I actually did the survey fieldwork on this project, and the wetlands are pretty much located at the toe slope. It was actually quite easy to see in the field. And to your comment and question, Kim, about how lot 17-1 is tight, while we meet all your requirements, we have the 60 by 70 building area that's outside the setbacks, and we have the the 4K area, that's clearly designated on the plan. And the slopes in that area of the lot are quite flat. And it is a Group 1 excessively drained soil throughout the site.
Could you please tell us what Group 1 soil is, Mike?
A Group 1 soil is usually a sand and gravel.
Thank you.
And it's excessively well drained, meaning if you dug a hole to do a percolation test, it would probably drop faster than half a minute per inch.
Is there such a thing as a percolation test being too fast?
Yes.
Okay.
But you don't address that in your regulations, so. State does.
Well, that's part of the septic permit.
Correct.
Okay. Just curious about that, because I thought I
So
heard it.
if you have a waterfront lot where you have excessively well drained soils, you actually have to be further away from the water body.
Does that include, would the state consider that for the wetlands in this case, or does?
No, because the wetlands that directly abut, that are not part of the bog brook itself, it's just, most of it's just a poorly drained soil. It's not very poorly. So the state setback for septics is only 50 feet to that.
Right.
But because the town has the 100-foot wetland setback period, it's, there's adequate protection to the resource.
Thank you.
So it's a net 3 lots, 2 existing lots, quite odd shape, but that was between family members back in the 30s and 40s. And I believe they were pretty close family members because their houses were right next to each other. But all the driveways work. The new driveway, we included a site distance plan and profile per Sarah's request. And clearly, that plan demonstrates, that sheet 4 demonstrates we have adequate site distance. We are going to go meet with the Conservation Commission, I think in a week or two. I missed last month's meeting I had just family stuff, and I could not attend the meeting. We're going to go meet with them and talk to them about the application and present the wetlands function value report by Mr. Boschman, and then we'll come back to the board.
Are we looking for the same date? 23rd?
Yeah, that works.
Questions for Mike from board members? Is there a question?
Sorry.
Please.
Sorry. Mike, I find this plan really hard to read.
Which sheet are you on?
I'm looking at 2 of 3 and also Alden's thing that was in the report. I'm baffled where the brook is versus where the wetland is. So I know Bog Brook flows between the abutments and I trace it up. But then I see you've got your 50-foot calculation line off what looks like a floodplain wetland. And then there's another wetland line.
There is. There's an interior wetlands that is in one instance, it parallels the 100-year flood boundary. Next meeting, I'll give you a color up.
That would be great.
That shows all that. With the resource of Bog Brook as one, the wetlands as one, and the floodplain as one different line. They all run parallel to each other in that spot, in that location, and it is hard to discern on the plan. I see exactly what you're talking about. I know it's there because I drew the plan, but I will address that.
So the boundary line is the west bank of the brook, is that correct?
It is.
506 feet.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, which, and I guess, you're going off that east boundary for your 100-foot setback, which is kind of the worst case scenario, so it's fine. I don't really question that, but, and can you ask Alden to check, or I'll check, but he doesn't comment if this is a prime wetland?
I don't believe it is, but I will converse with him on that.
It was easier to make the brook your property line back then than it was to
I know.
dig to patch it away from the woods.
And the deeds clearly say this is the west side, not the east side, not the center line.
That gives him control of the brook.
They,
The water's mine, you can't take it.
that's what they were saying.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant from board members? Okay, well, let's do the date certain.
Well, no, let's open it up for public comment so we can get that over with.
I was trying to get out of here at 8:45 like Barbara
I don't
wanted.
think it'll take you long to do
No,
that.
I was 9, Mike was 8:45.
Okay, so we're going to open up the public hearing on this application at this time. Anyone in the audience there that I don't see that wants to speak? Thank you, none. Close public hearing. 8:41. Okay,
I move that we continue this to the 23rd,
motion to continue this to 8,
9/23.
9, 23, 21.
Second.
Seconded by Colin. Any discussion on Jim's motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We'll see you on the 23rd for a couple of applications. Mike.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Any other items before the board from our planning officials?
No, I don't have anything else.
Anything else? Members? Okay, Phil has made a motion to adjourn. Second?
We might invite the, a new regional planning representative to come in, because we might want to get him at least as an alternate.
What do you want him to do, Jim?
Get him to apply to be an alternate to the board.
If we lure him in, he'll say, oh my
But the
God.
table is already tight.
It was, yeah.
You need a bigger table.
Yeah, we can do that. For him, we'll do a bigger table. You'll look at his resume.
Are we voting on motion to adjourn?
We haven't had it seconded yet.
Second.
Motion by Phil, seconded by Kimberly. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you
8:42.
for watching.